welcome to a leadership learning session provided by Predictive Solutions. My name is John Mavros. I'm the Director of Implementation and Support, and today we're going to talk about a team execution sprint. Let's start with the problem. All of us are very busy people. Our teams are busy. We're constantly trying to figure out ways to be more efficient. Often we know what those ways are. We know if we had certain materials or tools or processes or things we could put in place, we would be able to make ourselves a lot more efficient. However, we also struggle with figuring out, how do I get that done? When do I find the time to focus on some of these tasks that take more than an hour or two to get done? I think if most of us had some way to significantly make an impact on those improvements and get many of them done in a relatively short period of time, we'd do it. That is really what we're here to talk about today, because with the team execution sprint, it's a great effective framework that allows you to do just that. So today we're going to talk about what is a team execution sprint, or TES, what are the key elements, and how do you manage and execute a TES session. First of all, let me take a quick diversion. It's very critical that for your department you have gone through an exercise creating your vision strategy plan, or VSP. It's really from this, from knowing what your vision is and creating the main strategies that will allow you to achieve your vision, that will allow you to know what those plans are that are needed to be executed to make all that happen. And then when you have that, TES is a great framework to go ahead and get those plans accomplished so you can ultimately achieve the vision. If you're not quite sure how to create a VSP, or that concept isn't quite familiar to you, you can visit and take a look at the Predictive Solution Safety Step Change series of videos. The concepts that make up TES have been around for quite a while. They were taken from the development world, where there was an agile framework called Scrum, where there was progress that was made through a series of short sprints. And we've taken that concept and we're applying it to the non-development world. And essentially we're looking to focus on things we can accomplish in a week or less. And so TES will provide a framework that will allow you to organize the work so you can take advantage of that short block of time, get a lot done, and if you really do it well, you'll have some fun in the process, and it'll really be a great team-building exercise. All right, let's talk about the key elements of TES. Timeboxing, planning, and execution. Timeboxing is a great way to organize your task and create focus and a sense of urgency. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Planning is where you want to establish your deliverables, duration, and design. And execution, that's really where essentially we're saying within that block of time you have, all of the work in terms of creating it, editing it, and having a deliverable package take place within the sprint. Okay, let's talk about time boxing. Again, the concept is just taking your tasks, assigning a restricted amount of time that you're going to spend on that, and that's it. That's all your time you get. And your mindset is, I have to get this task done in this particular block of time, be that 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever the case may be. And if you use that idea, especially in the planning process, it allows you to think about, okay, how do I need to break up the task to be as efficient as possible to fit into those time blocks? And if you do this, you're going to find it's going to cause movement. People are going to have a sense of urgency to say, hey, I need to get this particular task done in this next 2 hours so I can move on to the next block that I have to work on. And so it's a great way to organize the work, and it really makes you think about it. So you're also not going to spend a lot of time on excessive polishing, right? Because you're going to need to get it done, and it's going to have to be of good quality, but it's not necessarily going to have to be the end-all, be-all. It's going to move the ball forward. All right, let's talk about TES planning. You need to decide how much time you have. Do you have a day? Do you have 2 days, 3 days? So you know what's the block of time that you have to work with. Then you need to work with the team and identify, all right, based on that time, what can we accomplish? How should it be broken up? By using the time boxing, it'll help you decide how it should be broken up. And you need to make sure this is a very collaborative effort. You cannot dictate this. It will not be as successful if the entire team isn't behind it and having an opportunity to work on the types of things that they want to work on. And you want to identify some of those things you can do ahead of time, right? So if you're going to create documents or recordings, wherever the case may be, you might spend a small amount of time figuring out what's going to be the overall template look and feel of that. And then when you're actually going into the sprint, you can just start executing. And then you want to set some realistic goals and some stretch goals, right? Everybody has to believe what they're going in there to get accomplished, they can accomplish. And then you push it, and you push it as hard as you can. And if you find that you're getting some things done quicker and you have more time, then you go after that backlog of things that you have in your stretch goals. Now let's talk about execution, or managing the TES session. First off, ideally, everybody's working on something that they're passionate about, that they want to work on. Now, you do have to use your coaching skills because you got to make sure that people are doing tasks that their skill sets are best suited for, because this really isn't a session for learning, it's a session for doing because we're trying to execute. If possible, create teams of 2. So that way, if somebody gets stuck, they have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and it is part of the team building process, so it's a good idea to do. Don't micromanage, trust your plan, trust your team. Huddle. You're gonna huddle 2 to 3 times a day. This is where you'll report status, you'll make adjustments, problem solve. Don't let yourself get stuck. Move unclear work, meaning you created a plan. Sometimes it doesn't work out. If you're able to quickly brainstorm and problem solve and get yourself past whatever's holding you up, great. If not, move to the back of the queue, move on to something that you can get done. You don't want one thing holding up the works. And remember, if you get it right, it's going to be fun. Right? So if everybody's working on something they're passionate about, it really becomes fun. I think all of us have experienced that. Okay, something real quick specific about huddle. 3 easy questions. You go into the huddle, you do that 2 to 3 times a day. You're going to ask each team member 3 essential questions. 1, what did you do the last huddle? So you can keep status. 2, what are you going to do the next huddle? So they're clear on what the next task is. And 3, is there anything in your way? And if there is, that's when you're going to go into problem solve and figure out, can you quickly get past that, or do you need to move it to the back of the queue? So that's TES. Remember, it starts with your VSP. So I highly suggest that you create that for your department if it doesn't already exist. Then you're going to utilize time boxing, create focus, cause movement, define tasks, avoid excessive polishing. Plan. Make sure you establish what are your deliverables, what duration do you have to work with, what's your overall design, and finally execute. Individuals choose the work, teams of 2, trust in your plan, don't get stuck, and don't forget to huddle.